What it do, YouTube? It is your boy, main tame of MPC the gang in this peace. For real, for real. And today, I'm mic'd up. I'm not using my regular mic right here. I'm using the Hollyland Lark Max. So, I don't know how the audio sounds on these. Good, I get a good listen to it in post when I start editing later on in probably like the next 40 minutes. Who knows? Who knows? Right now, we finna react to this video called "Why Were Africans Chosen for Enslavement over Others?" This video is by Home Team History. Home Team History. Let's get into it.
The truth is, most people groups throughout human history advanced the institution of slavery in some form or another. African people, especially below the Sahara, were not the only group of humans that had a history of enslavement. However, over time, the enslavement of people groups outside of the African continent seemingly decreased, while the demand for enslaved Africans increased. The natural question becomes, why? What up, African world? It's Home Team here, and welcome back to another video of African history, culture, and worldview. By supporting this channel on Patreon, you're helping in the creation of these videos and contributing to this content. The link to Patreon is in the description box below. Also, stay tuned with a word from my sponsors.
Hello, my name is Howard Dorsey. I'm 54 years old. I'm here to talk about my experience with herbal results. I was getting sick, so I went to the doctor. They told me that my blood pressure was high, my cholesterol was borderline or high, so I was very sick. You know, sometimes I thought I was dying at some point. And I ordered a bottle of olive leaf extract. This is how the bottle comes in. And within the first probably week and a half, 2 weeks, I checked my blood pressure and it was back down to normal. It was like 120/80.
My thing is, why do people be so quick to take these chemicals over a natural remedy? I mean, if you know your blood pressure high, either somebody's getting you angry or you're stressing yourself out. You need to calm down, find a hobby, and meditate. For real, meditate and pray. That's all you really need. A hobby, meditation, and prayer. That's it. And stop stressing over stuff you can't control. Stop getting angry at people who are not you. Simple. You get mad at everything in the world. People, that's where it all stems from. Anger and fear. All these diseases stem from that. Literally. Anger and fear cause a lot of stress, diseases, all the above. Because people are angry, they do stuff out of anger. They do stuff to hurt themselves and hurt others. And that's stress. Why stress over something you can't control? Let these people be people. You just enjoy your life the way you know you can. Simple. We'll say it like this one last time. Stop trying to control things you have no control over. You are only able to control yourself. You can't control the people around you. They're people. They have a mind. You have a mind. Use yours into the benefit of yourself. Nobody can be you like you. You are your help. You are your cure. Only thing you have to do is have faith, pray, meditate, and live. That's it. Don't be angry. Be happy. Be happy. Sometimes sadness is cool, but happiness is forever. For real. Be happy forever.
my cholesterol went down to 125. I definitely believe that olive leaf extract from Herbal Results saved my life. And that's real. I mean, I recommend it to everyone in my family, my friends, and we've seen a lot of results in that manner as well.
Purchase now at herbalresults.net.
Very rarely do I hear of anyone attempting to address this question. The dynamics of slavery itself and how it occurred tends to be the more noticeable inquiry in popular culture. It's not often I see scholars or other commentators attempt to answer why African people were targeted specifically. I suspect the reason is because it's a very complex issue. And that brings us to the disclaimer of this video. It's difficult to give a conclusive answer concerning why African people were chosen or targeted for enslavement. There are moments in history that evince a reason, but parsimony is the best approach. That being said, this video is just a theory based on years of observation and study. It's certainly possible to advance other valid interpretations or perspectives. Topics like this require a reading in between the lines of history in order to find some semblance of truth.
lot of reading between
This video is simply an attempt to do so, and not to be taken as the arbiter of truth or fact. Moreover, as of right now, this is the best answer I can come up with, but keep in mind that it may be subject to change. Also, if you're sensitive to topics like these, I recommend you skip this video because it may be overwhelming for some. Let's begin. I think a proper understanding of history would transform the question into a more relevant one. Instead of asking why were black people chosen for enslavement, we would ask why did the enslavement of Africans increase while others dwindled? Hopefully by the end of this video, you'll understand why the latter question is more appropriate.
To work hard.
Africans were certainly not always targeted or chosen for enslavement. The demand or choosing of African people specifically was a process that happened over time. From the onset, all humans could be subjected equally to enslavement.
They could.
Most humans were enslaved due to proximity, and Africans were a part of that tradition, if you will. The first instance where people of African descent were enslaved in large numbers outside of the African continent seems to be the Middle East. The most recognized culprits according to the literature were the Arabs. So it would make sense for us to start there. According to scholar Choki El Hamo, even before the rise of Islam, there existed a pre-existing negative perception of skin color among many Arabs, and Abyssinians or modern-day Ethiopians were one of their early targets. However, despite the skin color prejudice amongst early Arabs, we cannot conclude that they targeted Africans for enslavement due to this. The reason for this is because we witness immediately that when Arabs created their large empires, they enslaved those in relative proximity, including Europeans. Thus, the best explanation for why Ethiopians were among the first to be enslaved in their region was because of proximity. This leads us to the second process. The expansion of Arab empires led to the enslavement of various European and African groups. The presence of Arabs in North Africa led to an increase in enslaved Africans from Western Africa. However, when Arab jihads and warfare began to decrease in the Iberian Peninsula and the Black Sea region, enslaved Europeans became less populous. Also, large competing empires in Europe began to arise which offered protection to its subjects from enslavement. Africa, being a much larger continent and much more diverse, made it far easier to penetrate and barter for the enslavement of populations. If one region was protected, there were numerous alternatives one had access to. With the Turks on the horizon, the Slavs became the focus of rivalry between Christians and Muslims. In fact, the Russians and the Ottoman Empire competed against each other and offered to their subjects in the peripheries protection against enslavement. This competition between Christian and Muslim nations in the small geographical region of Europe handicapped easy access to enslaved Europeans. Because of this, the pool of enslaved Europeans became less, and the pool or demand for Africans became greater. There weren't many traditional African religions in a concentrated region with expansionist or imperial ambition competing with one another, or Muslim African states below the Sahara, like how Christians and Muslims were in Europe. Scholar Choki El-Hamel makes a very salient point regarding what happened next. Islamic countries turned south to sub-Saharan Africa. North African Muslims did enslave sub-Saharan and East Africans. These were among the first sources and the last. This historical perspective, though a good start, provides a satisfactory answer for one of the questions, but it doesn't answer the original question of why Africans were chosen specifically. The information provided seems more like a natural socio-economic evolution rather than some conscious choice by a given people group. Well, undergirding all of this history was the curse of Ham ideology, and even though it wasn't in active use immediately, it became an additional utility later, providing a psychological anchor for Black inferiority. This divine ordination would come in handy once Europeans came to the Americas. We'll circle back to that later. When the Spanish came to the Americas, among the first people they enslaved in large numbers was the native population. The most immediate reason why seems to be proximity, similar to reasons in the past. However, the native population didn't cut it, and so Africans were brought in. The question is, why Africans? The reason I'm going to give may surprise some of you. Most people believe that the Spanish came to the New World and brought Africans over to work the land. However, they neglect a critical first step. Spain first had to conquer the land, and to do this, they used conscripted or enslaved African soldiers, known in the literature as Black conquistadors. These Black conquistadors helped the Spanish conquer and pacify parts of the Caribbean and South America. One scholar believes that Africans were brought over first as conscripted conquistadors because of their performance against Spain as conscripted Moorish soldiers. In other words, though they exhibited racist attitudes toward Africans, they knew Black men were good warriors. Scholar Matthew Rustall puts it best. The broader cultural context to the Spanish use of Black fighters in the conquest and subsequent accounts of their roles is the Spanish perception of Africans as natural warriors. This perception is deeply rooted in Iberian and African history, going back to the role played by Black slaves in the Muslim armies of North Africa and the Middle East during the medieval phase of the trade in sub-Saharan Africans, and to the Black experience of the Reconquista as armed auxiliaries on both sides of the conflict. In other words, the Arabs and the Spanish normalized for the rest of Europe the great utility of African men as nation builders, either as warriors or enslaved people. In summation, in the Old World, meaning Africa, Europe, the Middle East, and Asia, Africans were enslaved primarily due to proximity and societal shifts such as expanding empires competing against one another. But in the New World, meaning the Americas, Africans were chosen because of their ability to withstand tropical temperatures and their reputation as warriors. All of this being actively undergirded by the curse of Ham myth.
And if that is the fucking case, why the hell did we just allow ourselves to be, well, not ourselves, why do the ancestors allow themselves to be enslaved? I mean, there was a choice. Either you fight or you don't. You either fight or you die. You're going to die one way or another. And we live to die. We don't live to live another day. Nah, we live to die one day. You never know when it's going to happen, so you might as well fight until then. Fight for what's right. That's life. But nah, you folks want to be peaceful and be treated like shit. I'm not with it.
It is worth mentioning that the Hamitic theory was widely accepted in Western Europe and used to justify the enslavement of Black Africans in the Americas. Indeed, American abolitionist Frederick Douglass noted that American slaveholders used the argument that God cursed Ham in order to excuse slavery. So as we can see, there are layers to the answer. Initially, we can make the argument that Africans were enslaved due to proximity, just like anyone else, and societal shifts increased the demand for Africans over time. However, the transition into the New World brought about a new dynamic, where Africans were chosen specifically due to their reputation as strong, capable people able to withstand the climate and overcome the challenges of military campaigns. Also, the Curse of Ham mythology became more of a psychological utility. Well, I'm all out, guys. If you like these videos and want to help in its continued production, consider supporting the home team on Patreon.
These are sources. I'm gonna go check them out. Let me screenshot. That's it for this video. So like this video, share this video with your friends, subscribe to the channel for more content like this, drop a comment on what you want to see next, hit that post notification bell to get notified every time we post, and I will see you in the next video. MT out.